Kids in Taiwan are finally back at school, and their first lesson, COVID-19 prevention. I'm Andrew Ryan.
I'm Natalie So. Let's take a look at the stories that have been on our radar this week.
This week on the radar, Taiwan now has 32 cases of COVID-19. The 5 most recent cases are all in the same family. As of Thursday, the global total reached nearly 82,000 confirmed cases. 2,800 have died from the virus. Taiwan's schools reopened their doors on Tuesday. That's after the Education Ministry decided to extend winter break by 2 weeks to fend off COVID-19. If one student in a class contracts the virus, then the entire class will be suspended. If 2 people in a school contract COVID-19 within a 14-day period, then the school will be closed. Taiwan evacuated 19 nationals who were aboard the Diamond Princess cruise ship last Friday. That's after the British-owned cruise liner was quarantined off the coast of Japan's port city of Yokohama for 2 weeks. More than 700 people on board the Diamond Princess are confirmed to have contracted COVID-19, and 4 have died. All 19 Taiwanese passengers tested negative for the virus. National Taiwan University's College of Public Health announced that COVID-19 may have a household infection rate 8 times that of influenza. Based on Taiwan's data, the household infection rate for COVID-19 may be as high as 46%. It says that number can be lowered to 20% if members wear face masks and wash their hands regularly. The Transitional Justice Commission has created an online database of court files of nearly 10,000 victims of political persecution. This comes as Taiwan prepares to mark the anniversary of the February 28th or 228 incident of 1947. That violent suppression of an uprising led to thousands of deaths during what would become known as the White Terror period. The public can now search online for the victims and more details about the cases. President Tsai Ing-wen's approval rating has skyrocketed to 68.4%. The latest numbers come from the Taiwanese Public Opinion Foundation. It's a record high performance for Tsai, who saw her numbers dip below 20% when her party lost big in the 2018 mayoral elections. Premier Su Tseng-chang and his cabinet have an approval rating of 69.4%.
Now let's start with our words of the week. Andrew, ready to guess my word?
As always, let's see what you have. Nothing?
Nothing.
Fun. Fight.
That's right.
Fight.
Okay, so the world is gearing up to fight the new coronavirus. I'll be telling you what they're doing here now that kids are back to school. Also, a new treatment that is being worked on here in Taiwan.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Always nice to have some good news, right?
That's right.
All right, you ready for my word?
Yes. Anger. All right. Alert.
All right. So, of course, everyone is on the alert for the COVID-19 virus, right? And I'm going to be talking a little bit later on about how the CDC has travel advisories for people traveling to countries which are impacted by COVID-19. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about those alerts.
All right, let's put these on the shelf.
Also today, do you know where this is? Taiwan has postponed its largest annual religious pilgrimage in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. This is one of the temples where the procession begins every March. So where in Taiwan is this, and what is the event that's been canceled? We'll have the answers for you at the end of our show.
There's good news when it comes to the treatment of COVID-19. National Taiwan University Hospital is set to start clinical trials of an antiviral drug called remdesivir.
Now, remdesivir was originally developed to treat patients that have Ebola. However, it's also shown promise in treating patients that have COVID-19. Now, this past week, we also learned that Taiwan has come one step closer to being able to mass produce this drug.
Researchers at Taiwan's National Health Research Institute, or NHRI, announced on Wednesday that they've managed to synthesize 1 gram of remdesivir, a drug that's shown promise in fighting COVID-19. Researchers have worked around the clock to increase the quantity from just 1 milligram 5 days ago. Now with 1 gram, they can pass on the technology to a pharmaceutical manufacturer. Once the manufacturer produces a kilogram of remdesivir, with approval, the drug can enter mass production. But what about the side effects? Dr. Chen Jungtong, the head of the research team at NHRI, says that clinical tests in China have already entered the third phase. There are more patients being tested there, he says, so we will soon know more about the efficacy and the side effects of the drug.
This past week, the world watched as COVID-19 spread to more countries around the world. Let's take a look at some of the hotspots. Now, the virus originated in China, in Wuhan. That's the red that you can see there. And that continues to be the location of the vast majority of the cases and fatalities. It then spread to Japan and Singapore. Now, the latest hotspots that we're looking at include Iran, Italy, and South Korea. Now, Taiwan has raised its travel advisories for travel to some of those countries, and that's the subject of today's Taiwan Explained. Taiwan's Centers for Disease Control is cautioning people about traveling to countries that have been affected by COVID-19. In today's Taiwan Explained, I'm going to talk to you about those travel advisories.
All right, 60 seconds. Are you ready?
I am.
Go.
All right. First of all, if you've seen travel advisories with different colors, those are the Foreign Ministries system, which warns about everything from health issues to political unrest. Now, the CDC advisories are related specifically to diseases, and they use numbers, not colors. Let's have a look at the advisories for COVID-19. Now, level 1, watch out and respect local prevention measures. Level 2, stay alert and take precautions when traveling. And level 3 is a warning to avoid non-essential travel. Now, in the past week, Taiwan raised advisories to level 2 for several countries. In Japan, confirmed cases surpassed 100, including numerous cases of community infection. Iran saw cases surging past 100. It now has more fatalities than any other country outside of China. And Italy saw a spike in cases, becoming the hardest hit country in Europe. And South Korea has also been raised to a level 3 with the number of cases second only to China.
Good job.
Thank you.
So I think there are also some quarantine measures for people returning from those countries, right? Can you tell us about that?
That's right. So if you've come back from a country that is a level 1 or level 2 travel advisory country, then you need to monitor your own health for 14 days. And that includes things like wearing a mask, avoiding public areas, frequent hand washing. I mean, that's something that a lot of us should do.
And taking your temperature, too.
But they also have to take their temperature
right.
twice a day. And if you notice anything or you have a problem, a health problem, then you should contact 1922. Now, it gets tricky when it comes to the 4 places that are level 3 warning spots. And again, that's China, Hong Kong, Macau, and South Korea as of the recording of this program. If you've been in South Korea over the last 14 days, when you come to Taiwan, then you need to go into quarantine for 14 days. Self-quarantine at home, and there are very specific rules about that.
Oh.
Yeah. So the tricky part is if you've been to China or Hong Kong or Macau in the last 14 days. Now, if you're a Taiwan citizen, you have a Taiwan passport, you come to Taiwan, you have to go into quarantine for 14 days.
In your own home or somewhere else?
It's also in your own home, unless you've been evacuated.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different story. If you are not a Taiwan citizen, then chances are very good that you will be barred from entry, like outright barred from entry, if you've been in China, Hong Kong, or Macau for the past 14 days.
So you can't go.
That's right.
You come back. You can't come back.
I
if you don't.
cannot do that. Now, you need to check out the specific rules for people who are in transit. That may vary, and there could be changes. Also, if you're you have a Chinese passport, chances are very good you're barred from entering Taiwan, like altogether, regardless of whether or not you've been in China, Hong Kong, or Macau for the last 14 days. So it's, I mean, there are a lot of rules, very specific rules. I would recommend people have a look, and we'll have some links for you below.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrew. That is our Taiwan Explained for the week. In today's Taiwan by Number, we're going to be talking about how schools are working to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Are you going to school us?
Yeah, I'm going to school you.
She always does.
Okay, well, the first thing they did was to keep the students at home for an extra 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
So, the students have enjoyed the longest winter break in the history of Taiwan.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, how long was that winter break? That's the question. How many days?
She's asking like the 2 people that don't have kids.
Yeah, Andrew?
No, I'm going to talk to you.
24 days.
Okay, 24 days.
Oh, we're doing it in days, not in weeks.
Days, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say, I think it was like 6 weeks. 6 times 7 is 36.
36. 24 and 36. Okay,
right?
That long? That feels really long.
Before we get to the answer, let's take a look at this video about schools reopening. Children in Taiwan are back to school, but school life has changed. Many schools are using new ways to prevent disease, like these dividers. At Daja Elementary School, every student has their own divider to prevent the spread of viruses through airborne droplets. During lunchtime, the children keep a distance from each other when they're eating. Some schools don't allow their students to talk to each other during lunch. This mom says she's so worried about her kids going back to school, it's affecting her sleep. She used to celebrate when her kids went back to school, but now she says she has a lot more anxiety. The students need to disinfect their shoes before they enter the campus and get their temperature checked. Windows are kept open so fresh air can come in. And now each class has a sanitation monitor. He says his responsibility is to disinfect the classroom, from doorknobs to desktops. The sanitation monitors are in charge of keeping the classroom clean. As children play dodgeball, Taiwan schools hope they can dodge any outbreak of COVID-19. Okay, so Taiwan students have enjoyed the longest winter break in history. You said...
Wait, can I just... I want to save myself here. I said 7 6 is 36. I meant 42.
So you want to up your answer?
Well, let's say between 36 and 42.
Okay. All right. If it's that, then you got it. And you said...
24?
24. Let's take a look at the answer.
Oh.
32. That's quite a long time to have your kids at home.
I meant 36, yes.
Yeah. Okay, question number 2 is that, they're getting drilled into how to wash their hands, which is a 5-step process, which is great. It's something we should do all the time, right?
Yes.
Now, according to the WHO, how long should we spend on this 5-step process, which includes rinsing and scrubbing, lathering, scrubbing, and wiping off the faucet?
I know the answer.
I know you're very good about washing your hands, Andrew. That's why
I know that.
In seconds.
Okay, you go first.
In seconds.
Because I know the answer.
Are we saying from dirty hands to clean hands, how long does that process take?
Yeah, including just like turning on the faucet, wetting your hands,
45
lathering.
seconds.
45.
Wait, including turning on the faucet?
Yeah, the whole process.
I thought you just meant like
There's
this.
a range, actually.
It should be 20 seconds while you're actually scrubbing.
Okay. 42?
45.
45 and 20.
20.
All right, let's take a look at what WHO says.
40
to 60 seconds.
What? Nobody counts the time when you turn on the faucet. That's ridiculous.
That's the whole process.
I'm just talking about the actual scrubbing part. 20 seconds.
Second, more or less.
Cards on the table, I don't spend.
So, but I bet most of us don't spend that long.
I count to 20.
You can sing the alphabet song, actually.
Oh.
And that's about 20 seconds.
Oh.
So,
I sing it fast, though.
Sing it slow. Okay, another thing that schools are doing are keeping the windows open. And that's because the fresh air can replace the indoor air, right? That's natural ventilation. So how long does it take for the fresh air to replace the indoor air in one room when the windows are open?
How big's the room?
Well,
on
average, okay.
How many windows are we talking about?
This is an average in a report that was in the news recently. So.
Have you ever just opened 2 windows in a room and just feel a whoosh? I feel like it's really fast.
It can be fast.
I want to say 5 seconds, 3.5.
What?
Yeah, I think it's really fast. If we're talking
I'm going to say I agree with you. However, I think if you want to get air into all the nooks and crannies,
what are you going to do?
The whole room. A minute. Okay, let's take a look at the answer.
60
You're right. Andrew is right on the button. All right, good for you. Okay, our last question has to do with, we saw in the video they have dividers, right? Some of these schools. Because if someone coughs or sneezes, you could get infected, right?
Right.
So how far do you have to be from someone to not be affected if they cough or sneeze? How many meters? Or feet, you can do it in feet as well.
I saw a video on social media. It was something astronomical.
You're kidding me. Don't scare me. Oh my God, you're scaring me now.
Astronomical. Sometimes we go what? Are we talking about sneezing?
Sneezing, coughing.
Oh, astronomical sneezes.
I think it goes up to like,
Oh my God.
my gut tells me 15 to 25 meters.
Oh no, stop it. I'm going to say it's like 2 meters.
Okay. 2 and 15 to 25.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the answer.
2 meters.
Andrew is doing very well today.
Stop letting the social media lie to me.
So that's like 6 feet, like maybe me and Leslie there.
So if I sneeze,
I
you
could
guys
affect you.
are
If the
done with.
windows are open and the breeze carries it,
Right,
you might
right,
get 15 to 25.
Right. Well, you might have a particularly explosive sneeze.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is Taiwan by number for the week. In today's Who in Taiwan, our mystery person is a shining survivor. Now, guessing today on buzzer number 1 is Andrew Ryan. Buzzer number 2 is Leslie Liao. Okay, you guys ready? You have 60 seconds to guess.
Okay.
This person won the Golden Melody Award Best Album with Religious Content for her album You're My Most Beloved. She's the author of parenting books. She has a master's from Columbia University. She's an award-winning pianist. She married an American pastor and missionary and returned to Taiwan as missionaries. Her father was a prominent democracy activist who was jailed after the Kaohsiung incident. 40 years ago, on February 28th, she was stabbed 8 times in her home when she was just 8 years old. The murder also stabbed her 6-year-old twin sisters and grandma to death. When she was discovered, her lungs had been punctured. Many people prayed for her, and her doctors said her recovery was a miracle. The family murder was one of the most famous unresolved crimes in Taiwan. Last week, the Transitional Justice Commission published a report on its investigations. You know who she is, but you don't know her name, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I know she's one of the, is it Lin family?
The Lin family.
One of the daughters of the
That's
Lin
right.
family.
Her Chinese name is Lin Huanjun. Her English name is Judy Linton. This is the album which she won Golden Melody Award for.
Wow.
She's a musician. She's a missionary. She's an author, and just this past week there was news out about their case because the Transitional Justice Commission looked into it after some more files were declassified. And what they stated was state security forces were likely involved, but key evidence was destroyed, so they couldn't draw firm conclusions. So the report said that the Lin residents had been under surveillance and wiretapping for a year before the murders. The piece of evidence that was destroyed was a recording of a telephone call from that home at the time of the murders to a restaurant.
Wow.
And the National Security Bureau said, because they had destroyed the evidence, they had said that they didn't know about the murder at the time, but the commission said that's not true. And the commission said more files need to be declassified. Actually, the National Security Bureau has more files on hand. And they said not until 10 years later, so for national security reasons. So there are more files that need to be declassified to help
That's a
figure out this
really important story, and a really tragic story in Taiwan's history, and an important story when it comes to transitional justice, really finding out what happened.
Exactly.
And her father went into politics.
Her father is Lin Yishong, and he was the first DPP chairman. So he was one of the Kaohsiung 8, actually, Taiwan's democracy came because of people like him. So, we do have to thank him and to give him justice.
Yeah, and again, just a reminder, so two of his daughters were killed, twins.
Right, and she survived
She
the
survived,
attack.
and then the mother was also
killed
at that. And at the time, Li Yisheng was not at home.
He was in jail.
He was in jail.
He was being tortured. He was in jail. And then he went to jail for 12 years. And so she and her mother went to America. A group of Christians bought their home from them after it was murdered and turned it into a church.
Today, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she became a Christian in America and became a missionary. Let me show you a picture of her family now. It's a beautiful family.
So
she has 5 daughters.
She's in the back second from the left.
That's right. The left is on the back is her husband. They're in Taiwan. They started a church here. And I've interviewed her actually, and I've actually met them. They're a wonderful family. I think she told me that what helped her heal was actually, her Christian faith and her music. And I do hope that, people can also try to find ways of healing victims, personal ways of healing. And I hope that the government can do more for victims like these families.
Well, this is a really great Who in Taiwan, especially considering tomorrow is 228, which is the, 73rd anniversary of the 228 or February 28th incident of 1947.
That's right. And also the 40th anniversary of their
of this
murder.
happening. Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
hopefully the government will continue to look into this case and declassify files and to help these victims heal.
This week on Hashtag Taiwan, I want to take a break from talking about COVID-19 because you guys have been doing a great job of covering it.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to talk about this guy right here, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders.
Can I say it's so strange to see him smiling?
That's actually like his Senate portrait. So this is like the official photo of
I'm
Bernie
going to smile
Sanders.
for that one.
Anyway, Bernie Sanders is one of the frontrunners for the Democratic Party nomination to go head-to-head against U.S. President Donald Trump in the November elections. He also gave an interview recently that's been getting a lot of attention online. I got the clip for you right here, so check it out.
Just on foreign policy, you said you believe in diplomacy. You're concerned Donald Trump is going to get us into an unnecessary war. Are there situations where you believe military action is
Absolutely,
warranted?
of course I do.
If China took military action against Taiwan, is that something you would?
That's something that, yeah. I mean, I think we have got to make it clear to countries around the world that we will not sit by and allow invasions to take place. Absolutely.
Now that was the American news show 60 Minutes, in which the interviewer Anderson Cooper asked Bernie Sanders whether or not he would take military action if he were president. And you guys heard of that whole Taiwan thing, right? So that's what people were going crazy about. And people were going wild for Sanders' answer online. And in fact, some local media outlets flat out said that the U.S. would defend Taiwan if Bernie is president. But let's pump the brakes really quickly. Did Bernie Sanders really say that? Let's look at the clip one more time.
If China took military action against Taiwan, is that something you would?
That's something that, yeah. I mean, I think we have got to make it clear to countries around the world that we will not sit by and allow invasions to take place. Absolutely.
Now, before we move on, I want to compliment Anderson Cooper for phrasing the question the way he did. He was very straightforward. It was down the barrel, down the middle, strike zone, fastball. And usually when people talk about Taiwan, especially in the media, they're very vague or they frame it in a very questionable manner. Would you guys agree with that?
I thought he did a good job asking the question. We don't usually see it framed quite the way he did. So
Yeah.
And that he really thought of Taiwan.
That's
I mean,
right.
That's a big
He
issue for
explicitly
us
asked
here.
that. But let's focus in on Bernie for a second. What did he say? He said, yeah, absolutely. Now, that could be construed in many ways. Let me demonstrate. Absolutely, yeah, that's very important to me. Or, oh yeah, absolutely, that's something. Do you see the difference in tone in the message? And not only that, but did you guys hear that little clink?
yeah, what was that?
I don't know,
He
but
knocked
to
on
me,
something
he
or-
knocked on something, and it looked like he was looking for an eject button. Like that's just me, but I was not very inspired by that little clink over there. I mean, it might be something minor, but I get paranoid about these things. But what's more is, there was a tweet by Corrales Cachola which says, meanwhile, Sanders is shuffling his feet, not making eye contact with Anderson Cooper on how he would deal with the bad guys, which essentially boils down to Sanders having the opposite of Warren on strategic planning. And you can't help but notice that, he was very, almost kind of gave us an off of nervous energy. His actions certainly didn't have the convictions that his words did, right? So I always give you guys a Leslie Liao pick of the week, but this week I'm going to give you guys a Leslie Liao score of the week. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very confident that Bernie Sanders would defend Taiwan in the case of an invasion from China, and 1 being not confident at all, I'm going to give you a score about how I feel about this entire thing. All right, and my score is 1 skeptical Leonardo DiCaprio. There we go.
All right.
I think the media was just too excited, and they just read what they wanted to read into it,
The
right?
Taiwan media was
The Taiwan
too
media.
excited, Yeah.
I think it was just, what was more important was how Anderson Cooper really just gave that down the middle question.
Yeah, and I think it's also like when it comes to Bernie Sanders' answer, you have to remember this is election season, right? So he's going to give a strong answer, but not necessarily an equivocal
Not
Yeah,
commit one
Yeah.
way or the other.
Exactly.
Pure politics.
All right. Well, thank you, Leslie, for that. And that is our hashtag Taiwan for the week. Do follow us on social media and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
And finally today, where in Taiwan? Now at the top of the show, we showed you a photo and asked if you knew where it was. Let's take one more look at that photo. Now, Taiwan has postponed its largest annual religious pilgrimage in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. This is one of the temples where the procession begins every March.
So where in Taiwan is this, and what procession is it? Well, let's have a look at the answer.
Crowds struggle to get close to a statue of Mazu, the goddess of the sea and one of the most popular deities in all of Taiwan. This is the annual Mazu pilgrimage, the largest religious gathering in Taiwan. Each year, worshippers carry her statue, walking hundreds of kilometers for up to 10 days. More than 1 million believers join in the pilgrimage, hoping to receive Mazu's blessings for a safe year ahead. One of the biggest processions begins at Dajia Zhenlan Temple in Taichung City. The head of the temple announced on Thursday morning that he decided to postpone the event to avoid elevating the risk of cluster infections of COVID-19. He said the event will take place after they get the green light from medical experts. Shortly after his announcement, President Tsai Ing-wen thanked the religious groups for doing their part to help contain the virus.
In light of those crowds and the public health concerns, I'm really glad they're postponing it. I would be worried. I would be worried if they kept it on.
Safety first.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Taiwan Insider. Be sure to connect with us on social media.
Yes, do leave a comment below. We would love to hear from you. For Taiwan Insider, I'm Natalie So.
I'm Leslie Liao.
And I'm Andrew Ryan. See you next week.